So if you want to find out how to make your lawn the best it can be or get it ready for sale, we're going to go through that all today and more. Hello, welcome to another episode of Inside Real Estate. If you want to know how to make your grass the best in the street, then watch the rest of this video. We're here with Joe Rodgers from Lawn Solutions Australia, and we're going to find out exactly how to do that. Joe, thanks for coming.
No worries, thanks for having me.
So Joe, one of the big things in real estate is if we got everyone likes their lawns and people are interested in their lawns, but if suddenly people are deciding to sell, sometimes they only know about maybe 6 weeks or a couple of months at best in advance, or even less. If that was to occur and they really did want to get their lawn looking as good as they can, is there a bit of a fast track to making the lawn look its absolute best as you can do?
Yeah, there's a couple of things you can do. Depends on the time of year as well. If you're selling, we're talking in spring now, if you're talking about selling in spring or summer, an application of fertiliser can really green up your lawn super quick. There's fast release and slow release fertilisers. A fast release fertiliser can get your lawn greening up in a week or two.
Wow,
So if you want to improve it for sale then, in the warmer months, fertilising and giving it a good drink can help. A big question we get is how can I spruce my lawn up in winter to improve its colour, ready for sale. There's actually a product out there called Colour Guard, which is a lawn pigment, sort of like a lawn paint, where you can actually hook your hose up to a bottle or pour it into a sprayer and literally spray your lawn green. And it lasts for up to 3 months and it doesn't rub off or stain, and it's a beautiful natural green colour too.
So it doesn't look like it today, it's a bit overcast, but going into summer,
Yep.
is there some other extra things you should be doing or considering?
Yeah, so the period from October to probably Christmas is the best time to get out there and do stuff to your lawn to improve it. A couple of key things: you want to fertilise as the weather starts to warm up and your grass starts to growing well again. A good application of a granular fertiliser followed by, you got to water in afterwards, so followed by a nice drink of water is great. The other key thing to do, I think is mentioned another time in this video, is to aerate as well, which involves poking some holes in the ground to try and decompact that subsoil. The other thing we like to tell people over summer when it does get really hot and dry for a couple of months is if you are going to water, less often and deeper waterings are more efficient than regular shallower waterings.
And is that because it gives it better root growth?
It soaks the whole profile and it's a lot better for the roots. So if you are going to water your lawn, you're going to get a lot better bang for your buck if you go less often but deeper, as opposed to little drips and drabs all the time.
And so when you say less often, how long would you say, if you were turning on your typical irrigation on your backyard, how long would you leave it on for?
I'd leave it on for 30 to 40 minutes, give it a really good soak, but you only have to do that once or twice a week in the hotter conditions to keep your lawn looking really good. All the varieties we sell now are pretty drought tolerant, so you can, you don't virtually have to water them. They're not going to look great, but they're going to hang on, and as soon as they do get some water, it'll kick them back into gear.
And when you see sometimes them going to seed, is that usually a sign they probably need a bit more water?
Yeah, it's a telltale sign actually, especially on softleaf buffaloes like Sir Walter again, which are probably the most common lawns in the domestic environment. As soon as you see them going to seed, that's basically a lawn's cry out for help. It's either hungry or thirsty. So you see that little seed head pop up, mow it off, fertilise and water, and you won't see it again until it needs some help.
So is there such a thing as like shade resistant grasses?
Yeah, so different turf varieties have different levels of shade tolerance, and there definitely are some that are more shade tolerant than others. Shade's a really important factor when you're choosing a turf variety. You think in most housing estates now, blocks are small, houses are big, structural shade is a big issue. Also filtered shades from things like trees is something you really have to consider, especially when you're planting little trees. There's no shade at the moment, that tree will eventually grow big and will cast some shade. So the most shade tolerant varieties you'll get are softleaf buffaloes, like Sir Walter DNA certified. It's about as shade tolerant as you're going to get. In saying that, it still needs about 2 to 3 hours of sunlight a day to survive. If an area doesn't get that, you might have to look at an alternate covering. Other grasses, a new one on the market, Sir Grain Zoysia, which has got the same sort of shade tolerance as Sir Walter does, but it's got a fine leaf instead of a coarse leaf. So there are a few varieties on the market that handle shade pretty well.
And those ones, I guess, if you got half your yard shady and the other half's in a lot of sun, does that sort of shade tolerant grass still work good in the sun as well?
All grasses love sun.
Okay.
So some just have better shade tolerance than others, but full sun environment, you got a bit of a freedom of choice when it comes to turf. They all absolutely love full sun. So.
Okay, this is a big one. What is there such a thing as the best lawnmower for a turf?
Okay, it's a really common question. There's a few different types of lawnmowers. It really depends, A, budget, and B, what sort of look you want. Yeah. You've probably seen them photos of people that cut stripes in their lawn, or you see the footy fields with stripes up and down. They use this, I guess you call it a specialist mower. It's called a cylinder mower, where it's got basically a barrel of blades that spin this way, as opposed to the rotary mower, which goes like that. So if you want a really specialist look and you want to cut stripes in your yard, a cylinder mower is probably the way to go. But for your run-of-the-mill backyard, you still want it to look good, but the stripes aren't necessarily a funny thing or something you must have.
Yep.
Normal rotary mowers are awesome. You know, your Victor, your Honda rotaries, they're fine for pretty much any type of lawn. The main thing with your lawn mower is you want to make sure your blades are sharp. If they're blunt, they'll actually tear the grass and they won't cut it, and so it starts to look a little bit brown on top.
Is that why you get the little white tips?
You get the little white tips,
cut it, so
yeah,
first
that's
day
right.
it looks good, next day not so good?
Next day not so good, that's
okay.
100% right.
Yeah,
So
right.
doesn't matter how good or bad your mower is, if your blades are blunt, it's not going to do a good job.
So Joe, one of the things we didn't talk about is this sort of robot mower that you've got here. So what is this that we've got here?
Yeah, so this is a Husqvarna auto mower. So basically, it puts an end to you having to mow your lawn. When you lay your new lawn, you lay a cable around the perimeter, and this mower actually just stays within the boundaries of that cable. You can control it on your phone, so you can set the different times that you want it to mow, and you can send it home when it rains and that sort of thing. But basically what it'll do is it'll mow your lawn in a randomised pattern, and instead of mower blades, it's actually got razor blades underneath it, so it always gives your lawn a really, really nice sharp cut. But yeah, you set it up properly and you never have to mow your lawn again, and it's going to look awesome under the razor blade cut off the auto mower. So they're a good bit of gear.
And they don't, all the grass catching and things like that, because they're just doing the razor blade, it's just a very fine little sprinkle that it puts on back on the lawn again.
It mows consistently, so it mows a couple of times a week or how often you want to have it turned on.
Yeah.
So it's only taking a tiny little bit at a time, but what that does is that puts the clipping back into the soil, and clipping is a really good source of nitrogen for your lawn, so it's actually naturally fertilising your lawn as it mows as well. They're super quiet, they're really safe, and they're really easy to use. So.
Grasses for like kids or pets, is there any varieties you recommend that are ideal?
Yeah, sure. With kids and pets, you've got to be thinking a lot of wear and tear on the lawn, so you need a grass that repairs itself pretty easily and pretty rapidly. Yeah. Grasses like Sir Walter DNA certified buffalo or Tiff Tough are both grasses that are good at self-repairing, so when your kids and pets wear a track up and down the lawn, with little effort the grass will be able to naturally come back over and cover itself, so you're not looking at bare patches too often. So you've got to keep that into consideration when you've got a little bit of traffic on your lawn, is having a turf variety that can handle that traffic.
And if you've got something like that where they have damage and you've got that little pathway, I mean, how do you kind of, I guess, help it repair itself?
Yeah, sure. It's a pretty easy process, but it's a pretty critical one as well. When you say your dog's charging up and down the back fence, or your kids are playing footy in the yard and you start to see these bare patches wear out, aerating and fertilising are two key things you've got to do, because when something like a dog or the kids are running up and down, they compact the ground really hard, and that makes it hard for the grass to put roots down and grow rapidly. If you do have some patches that have been worn out over winter, aerating and then fertilising and watering that fertiliser in will repair that grass pretty well.
So what's the biggest myth that you hear all the time around turf?
Okay, the biggest myth with turf, especially in the domestic environment, the front yard, backyards, is that they need a lot of work to look good. It's simply not true. If you've got the light lawn variety and a good soil profile underneath, it's a pretty minimal amount of effort to make your lawn look good and improve the look and value of your home as well. By doing a couple of things at a few key times a year, fertilising, aerating, and a little bit of water, and also mowing semi-regularly, it takes not a lot of effort at all to have a really, really good looking lawn.
Good to hear. And we've got a calendar with your help we're going to put together that people can download from this episode. So we'll have some of those key, I guess, points in there. So Joe, earlier you mentioned before about the fact that you propagate a lot of the turf into the farm, but then we're here somewhere, this is actually now more like research and development, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So Lawn Solutions Australia, we have the largest research and development program for turf grass in the Southern Hemisphere now.
Right.
So a lot of turf grass breeding and R&D is done in the US for all the universities there, because they have the market and they have the money to do it. We don't have it quite here in Australia. So we have arrangements set up with them where they select X amount of grasses through their crossbreeding and their studies. They give to us, we propagate here in this hothouse, and we plant these grasses out in different places around Australia and find one that suits our climate and our market well. And then once we do a couple of years worth of R&D on that, then we can assume whether it's safe to bring to market and to put into Aussie backyards after that. So that all happens here.
Right. So Joe, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time. It's been amazing. It's certainly going to be something that I'm sure everyone's interested in. When we were talking to people about doing a video like this, everyone said I'd watch that. So I think people are going to get a lot out of it, but I think talking to an expert such as yourself certainly is going to solve some of those myths and get people on track. And like you said, it's not as hard as they think it is if they follow your steps. So we'll have that calendar available for people, and of course extra information they want on your website, lawnsolutions.australia.com.au.
Yes, that's
Everything's there that you need. So thanks again for today.
No, thanks for having me. It's good fun.
Thank you.